Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 29-year veteran writer, illustrator, and editor of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. Tonight is a review night and comic book crowdfunding discussion. Got a lot of stuff last week in from various Kickstarters and Indiegogo projects. Tried to get everything read. Didn't, but I will review as much as I can today. And then we'll get the rest of it on Thursday. What did you get this week? It'll just be extra stuff from last week. So with that being said, we do have some questions that people have come up with, so let's go ahead and get into those. And here we go. First question. How come you just trashed Hickman's X-Men like that? I'd like to see you do better, from Jay Wentz. And, well, Jay, for those who don't know what I had an earlier video this afternoon where I was reviewing a John Hickman X-Men collection, and I guess you could say I trashed it, but realistically, if you listen to the video, what I basically did was say that he just isn't the right person for X-Men, and then it just wasn't for me anymore. That I actually liked Hickman's work on Fantastic Four, and I talked about the differences between the two and why his X-Men stuff is inferior to his Fantastic Four work. Now, as far as me doing better, no, I'm not saying I could do better writing X-Men, especially not these days with what they want. But if Marvel wants to hand Claremont and me and Louise Simonson the opportunity to do the real X-Men again, that I'll do, and I guarantee you it'll kick the crap out of anything they're publishing right now. So other than that, moving on. Santos Rodriguez asks, when are you going to put out your own books again? Wasn't there supposed to be 2 books this year? Yes, there were supposed to be 2 books this year, partly because of what was going on with shipping and problems, and partly because of other reasons I chose not to try and get anything out right here at the end of the year. They were supposed to come out in September and December, and unfortunately there's a lot of problems with paper and with shipping and handling issues, and so hopefully we'll get those resolved and things will be cleared up for next year, and I'll get them out first quarter next year. We'll see. In the meantime, I will try and get something out there for you to buy, Santos, hopefully in the next few weeks, just in time to order for Christmas. All right. Our next question. Smart Alex says, you haven't done your episode on Comicsgate like you promised. What's up with that? You getting cold feet? No, not getting cold feet. They're Smart Alec. What I'm getting is too much content to do. I can't do 2 and 3 videos a day reviewing everybody else's stuff and reviewing movies and doing interviews about other people and everything, and do that too. So we will get to it probably after the end of the month, probably into early November is when I'll probably get to that. Next question. How come you aren't drawing more on a channel lately? From Artie. Same answer, basically. There's just too much stuff I'm doing. I can't read all these books and write reviews on them and draw at the same time. So eventually we'll get to them. Back to a more artwork situation. Sean M asks, what ever happened to the season 4 video intro outro segment? That's a complicated mess. I got my money back from the people that I had originally hired to do the video intro. Have not found a suitable party that I can afford to do it the way I want it. So that's why we haven't done it yet. But hopefully we'll have something here before too long. If you know anybody who does really good video intros, maybe put them in touch with me and we'll see what we can do. Multiplex Complex, are you ever going to draw actual comics pages from your books on the show? Yep, that's next month. First, probably start getting some of the pages for Spacey, the alien, drawn on early November. I'm hoping to get the whole book done and ready and finalized as far as pencils and inks go by December, so that we can get the book out for first quarter 2022. So that'll be drawn on the show on some episodes for the live draws. I don't know who asked this, but this is a kind of a question. It's been asked before. Are we going to see more interviews with other creators that don't have anything to do with marketing their crowdfunding campaigns? They just want a conversation and not advertising product, basically. We more or less had one of those just the other day when I had Aaron Lepresti on. We were talking about packaging of comics and packaging of your original art and stuff that you're shipping out. So there was that. And we'll have more conversations like that and other topics down the road. So if you have questions, email me at quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com, subject QTR Q&A, and I'll do my best to answer your questions on air or privately. Okay, that takes care of our questions. So let's go ahead and get into our reviews. We've got quite a bit of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of what we're going to be talking about for the reviews tonight comes from a group called Ugly Bug or Bad Bug Media. I ordered the product from Mike Tenner, Midnight Highway 1 and 2, and then I did a bunch of add-ons for a lot of their products. So we're reviewing pretty much all that stuff that I got. Let's start with Black Jackets 1. And it's $4.99. Writer is Mike Tenner. By the way, Ted Davies, artistry says good evening all. And we'll mention something about Ted's upcoming. His book just launched, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Black Jackets #1, $4.99. Publisher Bad Bug Media. Originally, when that was released, it was originally called Ugly Bug Media. So I'm putting both names on there. Again, Mike Tenner is the writer. Artist is Francesco Tomaselli. Letterer is Micah Myers. The genre is supernatural horror adventures, and it was originally released in 2019. What it's about. You follow the story of Evan, Jack, Ellie, Lynn, and Asa, as they embark on a journey to find their missing parents who belonged to a fraternal organization of monster hunters known as the Black Jackets. Think of it as, what if Marvel's Runaways were the kids of the members of Hellboy's Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense? And you've pretty much got the gist of what this book is. And what I think of it is, this is pretty much what I just said. It's teenage version of the BPRD. And the cool thing of it is, while I got tired of BPRD and recently stopped buying Hellboy and BPRD, the idea of teenage kids trying to figure out things and find their parents and stuff is still appealing to me. The characters are fairly well rounded and defined, and though there's still plenty of open-endedness to who and what they are, and what they can become as well. So I like that in the first issue. I don't have time to go through the entire issue as well as 2 and 3 because these were the ones I read last of all the books. I did reviews of all the other ones first, but unfortunately, alphabetically, this is how it comes up. But I did read all 3 issues, and I found the series so far to be quite engaging and entertaining. I am sorry that I missed them when they first came out on Kickstarter, and I had to get these as well as POCUS, HOCUS, and Undercity Tales, which we'll talk about shortly, as add-ons with my order of Midnight Highway. But this is an extremely well done series, and the overall Ugly Bad Bug Media line is something I confidently recommend as a comics brand. This series is recommended for mature readers due to language and some violence, gory type horror content. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Here's this interior art by Francesco, Tomaselli. It has a priest being chased into the church in Boston in 1994. And then here are the kids. And they basically are looking at him, and the priest is like, "Don't beat me up or anything." Don't, And it turns out the priest is actually possessed by a demon. And they have to like get rid of the demon inside of him. So it's kind of a weird thing going on there, but it's cool, very enjoyable. I like the black and white artwork. I did lighten it up a little bit from the scans, so that you can see some of the more of the detail, and because when I scanned it scanned a little bit too dark, and you lost some of the detail in the artwork. But I did enjoy this quite a lot. And then these are the covers for issues 2 and 3. Quite entertaining. Next book is Midnight Highway, #1 for $5. Publisher is Bad Bug Media, written by Mike Tenner and Alex Madej. Artist is Alexander Malashev. Hope I pronounced that correctly. And Hedwin Zaldivar is the colorist, with letters by Dave Lentz. Genre is supernatural horror adventure. It was released January 2021. I just got this like a few weeks ago, maybe like last week, like I said, for October 2021, along with issue #2. And what it's about, Midnight Highway follows the misadventures of Alex Tomlin, a teenage boy lost on a mysterious supernatural road where anything can and will happen. In this first issue, Alex stumbles onto the supernatural Midnight Highway on the way home from a date with the love of his life, Kelly. As he drives on and it becomes midnight, the car radio cuts out to the Midnight Highway radio in the middle of a song, Harry Chapin's Cats in the Cradle, which is, the lyrics are quite well played, interplayed with what's going on in the events of the comic at the time. And as Alex tries to readjust the song, a deer comes out into the road and he has to slam on his brakes and stops before hitting it. The deer stands there and still won't move. So Alex gets out of his car and approaches it to try to make it move. And I would never I do not advise this, by the way, because they are wild animals to begin with. And having seen people do this and try and get a deer to move, I've seen deer attack people with their antlers, so I would not recommend doing that. But as he approaches, this deer mutates into a hideous monster and demands that he gives us the vessel, your golden vessel, which I assume is in reference to his golden Trans Am car. Fleeing back to the car, Alex hightails it, and the monster chases close behind and shapeshifts into this kind of a spider/deer thing. And it leaps on and lands on the top of the roof and punctures the roof of the car, and it lands on top as the spider-deer hybrid. The monster then evolves again, but it is struck by a lightning bolt as lightning and rain starts to come down, and it careens off the roof of the car to the road. And Alex just keeps going until he stops to wonder how long this monster may have been following him, and he comes to the conclusion that maybe Kelly is in danger. He stops the car in the driving rain and gets out. I'm not exactly sure why he gets out of the car in the driving rain, but he does. And suddenly the rain has not only stopped, but it's like nothing at all had ever happened. There's no damage to his car. There's no water on the road, nothing. Alex sees a man walking with a gas lamp light and confronts him, but it's a ghost that passes right through him. He then races back to the car where the radio is once again claiming that he's on the midnight highway, and he looks out and he sees an insane nightmare world before him. It's a good introductory issue. We don't know yet how or why Alex has crossed into this other dimension and why his car seems to be possibly have something to do with it. After all, why else would the deer monster want his car unless it's the key to crossing between the two universes and they're looking to escape? The art is nice. I don't know if it's really an homage to the 80s science fiction horror genre films, as the campaign suggests it is, but there is an early scene right at the beginning of the book where Alex and Kelly are watching a B-horror movie at the drive-in, but the highway seems to be more like an homage to Twilight Zone or maybe the 80s horror anthology, The Hitchhiker. I don't know if you guys remember that TV show. It is recommended for mature readers. I give it 3.5 stars. Let's go ahead and take a look at this art. This is like the beginning of the book. This is the scene where we're watching the movie at the drive-in. A little bit later, he drops her off at home, more or less. And then we get into the deer, which, you know, as you can see, it's this weird spider deer thing now. This is where it jumps on the Trans Am. In that, this is where he goes back to his car, hears the thing, turns back and looks. Now, there is something a little bit weird here. The last page is not drawn right. If he's looking in the driver's side of the car, then he should be on the other side of the car, and the car door should be open. He should be looking out over the roof of the car, as opposed to being on outside, the thing with the door shut. That's the only thing that I really could say I saw that was wrong. I would have said that, but other than that, and that's a minor thing that sometimes happens, but that would be the one thing I would have said. Cut and paste him in and redraw the door, type thing, where he's over on this side of the car. But that's the only thing I would say was really wrong with the book. Other than that, very well done. Very enjoyable. So skipping on to issue 2, also $5. Same creative team, although colors, they had another person helping named Tavan, who was also doing colors. I don't know who did what. Tavan is his actual moniker name, I guess. He has a full longer name that I just didn't have space on the screen to put on, so I just put the name Tavan on there. Anyway, this one did come out in October 2021. This issue, Alex comes across a haunted house that holds a mystical arcade where all the other people who have transported themselves into the universe of the Midnight Highway are stuck playing video games, trying to get to the 1 million tickets to win some prize to go to heaven, to hell, anywhere but there. Alex meets with one of the ghosts, and the ghost explains the situation, and he gets coerced into playing a game with his life, a demolition derby with his Trans Am with other drivers, in order to get one phone call with Kelly for those 1 million tickets. He manages to win the derby, but when he gets to the prize, the jig is up and the phone doesn't work, and he gets knocked out by demonic entities. End of issue. Really nice concept for the issue. I don't know if I would have called it Pinball Wizards, though, seeing as it only really had one scene that remotely had anything to do with pinball games. If it was going to be pinball, I would have had Alex driving his car through an interdimensional pinball game, trying to evade the pinball as the players playing the game are trying to knock him out. But that's just me. The Demolition Derby works just fine, and what's done here is done very well for what it is. Got no problems with it. The production values on the second issue are much higher grade stock paper than number one's production, making it more than worth the $5 cover price. Very thick cardstock cover. The interior paper had a nice upgrade on the production there as well. The story is solid, and I am enjoying this series overall so far. I'm still going to give it 3.5. Hasn't quite got to the 4-star yet, but it's if it keeps going at the level it's going and it keeps improving, I think it will get to the 4-star with issue 3. And here's where the ghost is telling Alex about how to play the game to try and win. And of course, he starts playing that. He clicks the button on, and a giant pinball slams through the video game. The ghost dissipates, and he's like, "Oh crap!" He's avoiding this giant pinball. It's really cool looking. I like this scene. The floor collapses. He falls down through the floor. The ball, which should be much larger in this case, seeing as the ball is so large here, the ball should be probably a little bit larger, or he should be a little bit smaller, maybe. I don't know. But, either way, he's going to get hurt with the ball with one way or the other, so it doesn't really matter. But that might be the only flaw in that artwork there, is that the ball proportionately doesn't fit with how else it's drawn in the previous page. But other than that, overall, well done. And then he wakes up, and here he is in his Trans Am out in Demolition Derby. And he's got to survive all these vehicles that are out to kill him, basically. And there's his girlfriend, an imaginary version of his girlfriend, Kelly, who's like rooting him on. And he survives it, and the car is perfectly fine. No dents, no damage, even though he went through that whole Demolition Derby. He gets out of the vehicle, and he's completely exhausted and exasperated. And as you can see, there's the phone cord split. And there's no way to call. And that kind of he kind of freaks out and screams at them about it, and then he gets hit from behind. So again, very well done, very enjoyable storyline so far. Okay, let's go ahead and take a break from doing a review just a minute so I can go ahead and get Ted's stuff mentioned. We'll mention some other stuff as well, but I want to get Ted's mentioned because it's kind of like the early stuff. $1,500 goal 30 acres 19 days ago. I was only doing it for 20 days. So a quick play video.
Most of my life I felt alone, but not here. I suppose living next to a cemetery, your neighbours are always close. It is peaceful and quiet, but not lonely. In fact, since my first visit on these graves, I felt a presence, a calmness that fills the air and surrounds me like a gentle morning mist. That's how I know he is there. It's a feeling of being watched from afar. I wait in silence as well, until we meet.
Okay, as you can see, it's 64% of its goal. And this is the cover art without the logo on it. The story continues with the curious and witchy redheaded neighbor Gwen and her first glimpse at the thought to be invisible Jim, the cemetery Grim. This is the second book, and it's from the memoir side of Gwen, whereas the first one was from the journal of the Grim Jim, who is this kind of a ghost that's supposed to be scaring people at while you're in the cemetery, or making you feel sadness and angst and stuff like you normally might feel at a funeral or something like that. Only he doesn't do that very well. Instead, he tries to make people feel better and happy. So it's a little bit of a weird thing there. But anyway, the first book was really entertaining, and this is the second book. And this book is actually eventually going to be in development for potentially a TV series as well down the road. So it's already been being discussed with a production company. So this is the place to do it and get into something early as a reward for supporting this book. You're kind of supporting something that could become a very popular series, and you'll have something that is quite collectible. Now, there's 29 hours to go, and you can get the Early Bird Grimm Book 202 soft cover. That is the cover like this up here. There is also a hardcover edition, which we'll get to in just a second here. I can show it. We're going to show some of the interior art as well here from Ted's work. Ted does pencils, and then he does watercolor washes over the pencils. This is how his artwork looks, how he does his work. Okay, you can get the original digital only, the soft cover, which is what I ordered because I got the soft cover last time. There's a hardcover with a letter bound in green leather. That includes all the all this stuff includes all the unlocked stretch goals as well, by the way. You can get a print, which would be the print without the text on it. You can get the hardcover with the print. You can get the soft cover bundle with 1 and 2 with the print. You can get the Gravedigger bundle, which is the hardcover edition with the red for issue 1 and the green for issue 2 with the print. And again, all these include all unlocked stretch goals throughout the campaign as well. They have a retailer bundle, so you can get all the book 1 or book 2 rather. And there's a retailer bundle too, so you can get all of the issue. You can get 5 copies of issue 1 and issue 2, plus 5 prints for $100, which is a pretty reasonable deal. And you can also get original artwork from the book. Now, these aren't so much comics as they are story with illustrations, just to be clear on this, but it is still quite well done. Then you get For the associate producer, you can get 2 hardcovers, both soft covers, the print, and original custom artwork by the artist Ted. And then you see this little statue thing here. They actually are having a limited run, like miniature figurine that's like 2.5 inches by 3 inches tall in a case, plastic case, that's going to be of the image that you see from the first soft cover of Jim the Grim that you get there. Then there's an 11 by 17 artwork, original artwork by Ted as well. And for the add-ons, you can get other books he's done, like Albino Zulu 1 and 2. Retrieve issue 1, that's the second printing. Retrieve has actually already been picked up as a movie deal and is in the process of being developed as we speak. And then there's the limited edition Grim figure that you can get for an additional $75. If you just want to get, you don't have to spend $900 to get this figure. You can go buy your smaller pledge and order the Grim figure for $75. But there is a limited number. I think Ted said it was going to be like 20 or 25. Ted, if you're still in the room, is that correct? Is it limited to 20 or 25, or how many is that Grim figure limited to? Let me know. No, I haven't seen or heard from him yet. Hopefully he's still in the room. But if he's not, whoops, there you go. But there's a lot of different platforms. You can, like I said, the early bird Grim 102, Grim 101 book 2 soft cover is $12. That's what I did. I bought the $12 plus the Grim figurine for $75. And there's 29 hours to go for the early bird. You can get, after the early bird, the soft cover is $15. The hardcover is $20. With the prints, $25. $35 if you missed book 1, you get both soft backs for $35 plus the print plus the unlocked stretch goals. For $40, you get the hardcover editions. Both softback and hardback, pardon me, plus the print. So there's quite a few deals there, and I'll go ahead and put a link in there so you guys can. There's a link for that, so you can check that out at Ted Davies Artistry. Ted has not answered, so I'm going to guess he isn't watching at the moment. That's okay. But you can check him out at teddaviesartistry.com and or go to this campaign and get more information on that. Okay. So let's go ahead and get back to our reviews. And we're going to go to Hocus Hocus. Not Hocus Pocus, but Pocus Hocus, #1 for $5. Bad Bug Media. The writers are Alan Dunford and Will Radford. The artist is Brian Bellondo. Colors by Jason Smith and letters by David Lentz. Genre is supernatural horror adventure, released earlier this year in 2021. Focus Hocus is a silly-ass wannabe mage who sells his soul to a demon for demonic power so that he can impress his father, a famous stage magician who honestly couldn't give two piddles about him. At least that's how I took it. So he makes this deal with the demon, gets famous enough to have a major show, and his father never shows up because, of course, the father dies right before his big show, so his father isn't there to see him anyway. Typical kind of twist in that sort of thing that we do when we do those kind of stories. So now POCUS has all this magic, but he doesn't care, and he's bored. And he's explaining this whole history to a drunk at the bar, and there's some cute comedy moments by the writers. But eventually the story is told, and POCUS has to go back home, where his father's manservant, whom he sends home, while he tries to sleep and figure out what to do next, the demon who gave him his power shows up and says, "We need to talk." So POCUS is explained that the only way out of his soul deal with this demon is to either guess the demon's name or through divine intervention, and presumably the latter isn't happening, or maybe it will. This is issue 1 of 6, or part 1 of 6, so my guess is the demon is actually about to give POCUS a quest to go on, maybe possibly something to do with his deceased father, perhaps. We'll see. Perhaps the father sold his soul for his magical skills, because it seemed like his father was a practicing magician himself, and he just wasn't impressed with his son's attempts to be anything like him. This was not inferred, of course, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens when the next issue comes out. I don't know if any more issues have come out. Like I said, I got this as an add-on to the Midnight Highway campaign, but if there are more issues, let me know. The first issue, it's a decently paced, respectable first issue with the origin of the lead told before we actually head off into what I consider the real story. It's humorous enough. I can see it working as an opening episode to a TV series if it was padded out ever so slightly to give us a little bit more of the relationship between the father and HOCUS, or pardon me, with POCUS. The writing is slightly above average for today's comics. The art by Belando is good. The colors are the weakness of this book. They work for what the story is calling for. But the gray wash tones are kind of a little bit, I don't know, dull to me. Where the colors are used to highlight certain things, it works quite well, but the gray wash just seems a little bit overdone, in my opinion. It doesn't ruin the book or anything like that. It just isn't the best gray wash computer coloring technique I've seen, that's all. Overall, solid first issue. If there's a second issue out or more issues, I will seek them out. Just got to let me know where I can find them. I recommend it for ages 16 and up. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Let's take a look at some of that artwork. This is relatively well done in the early stages here. The lighting is okay. I think there might have been a little bit more shading in certain places, but this is nice and clean on the first page. Second page is pretty well done as well. But then we cut into this, and this is okay. It's not bad, but it's just a little bit. I had to lighten these up from my scans. When I scanned them, they were much darker. So that's what I mean by the color. The grayscale was just a little bit dark on this. If I hadn't had to lighten them up so that they could be better seen on the screen, maybe I wouldn't feel that way. I'm not so sure that the purple lettering for the demon was all that easy to read. I had to put a light directly on the pages so I could read them. That was another minor kibitz I might have. But the interaction between the demon and POCUS is quite amusing. The demon's like, wait a second, did you say your name was POCUS HOCUS? I did. Huh. The guy is scratching the top of his head, and I thought Houdini was a dumb name. So the guy's like annoyed with him. He goes, do you want my soul or not? So they're just, having a conversation. He's like, you understand what you're getting into? Yes. Just give me the damn contract. So they show the contract. And he's like, okay. As you can see, this part's for me to initial. Oh, no, wait, no, that's for the auditor. And then your copy is for your records and stuff like that. And it's just really well done in that regard. Maybe a little bit modern in comparison to what seems to be the time frame that this is taking place, but it's funny and it's enjoyable. Wheelchair XL says, you should see issue number 2. Well, if there is an issue 2 number out there, let me know where I can get it. I'll be more than happy to try and pick it up. Okay, our next book is Undercity Tales number 1, also $5 from Bad Bug Media. Writer is Mike Tenner, and Scott Wilkie co-do the story, and Scott Wilkie does the script. Artist, again, is Brian Belando, with colors by Brian Arfel Magne. Letterer is by our pal Matt Kreutzer. Genre, science fiction crime noir. Released originally in 2019. And this story is in 1950. And miles below the Earth's surface, the city Valanova was built by hundreds of different extraterrestrial species from all across the galaxy to create a home to all, taken from the Aurelian tongue, to start a new life. Over time, the citizens of Valanova come to refer to it as the Undercity. This is a tale of a police force assigned to protect Valanova citizens. Detectives Kane, that's the guy on the left with the gun, and Whitlock, that's the guy at the forefront with the white hair and the tie, are investigating the death of popular entertainment personality Venus Centurion. After they have examined the crime scene, an entertainment reporter named Aurora Sands gives them some information about Venus wanting to quit her career in the music business, and that she had a falling out with her manager, which sets them on a path of investigation. Kane is explained to be an ether, which is an ectoplasmic entity that can take over sentient beings, but he doesn't believe in doing that. His religion says you don't take over living beings. Kane questions the manager, who explains that there's no reason for him to kill her, but there's a box of fan mail that has a symbol on it that Kane recognizes. He asks for some of the fan letters, and he's given those letters, and he leaves the manager's office, and he gets back to his vehicle, and he gets attacked by the manager's assistant. It turns out that another ether controlled the body of this assistant to attack Kane, and Kane defends himself, and he shoots the assistant. So he theorizes that the ether took control of Venus as well and made her kill herself. I'm not going to go much further into the story than that because I'll be giving away certain things. So I will say it has more twists and turns in the story, and that it's all nicely executed. What I think is that the story was quite solid, and the ending is not as predictable as one might think it would be, but there was a sort of jarring shift in storytelling late in the story that I had to go over a couple of pages, reread them a couple of times to figure out what was going on, and that scene shift could have been done just a little bit better. Overall, though, quite a nice issue, very well executed. Recommended for ages 14 up. I give that book 4 stars. And here's some of the artwork by Brian Belando and Brian Magne. Mm-hmm. This is where they find Venus Centurion. And of course, Kane is the one with the hat and is in the robotic shell, I guess, where Whitlock, apparently, Whitlock has been walking around. He's drinking, pardon me, he's drinking whiskey from the girl's bar. It's kind of funny. But he exits the hotel room, and there's all these screens, and all these screens are actually these little, like, circular robotic cameras that apparently follow him around everywhere. So they're looking at the different scene from different angles and different connections to different camera feeds from around the local community, to see if they can find any information on who killed her. And everything's clean. There's nothing to suggest anybody other than herself killed herself as a suicide. And he's still looking through all the different information. And he says there's not a single thing that's pointing to foul play, so can we just leave and get something to eat now? And then there's all the little circles surrounding him as they leave. He's got this really interesting classic automobile with some sort of energy battery that glows pink. And it's kind of funny that just as they're leaving, the woman, Aurora Sand, shows up and says, "Oh, by the way, how would you even know? How would she even be there to know that the person's dead yet?" And again, there's a reason why she knows the person's dead, so I'm not going to get into all exactly why, but it is very well done overall. Okay. That pretty much covers our reviews. Now, there's a few more things that I want to show you guys besides the Grim 101. There is a few more social crowdfunding pieces. So let's go ahead and see if we can show this. Wild Nature, issues 1 and 2. Murder Dystopian Comics. Let's see what we got here. It's got 13 days to go with 90 backers. They're well past their intended goal. So this book will ship.
Hi, I'm David Taylor, and this is the Kickstarter for Wild Nature 2. Wild Nature is a dystopian action thriller set in the near future Miami, where traditional sports have fallen away and they've been replaced by a brutal death sport called Wild Nature. Teams of mass killers put on a brutal, bloody show for the fans every month, and as captain of the animals, Swan was the greatest of all time. After all, he helped create it. Haunted by a history of violence and tormented by the black voice inside his head, he's quit the game to do something other than kill, but he's about to find out that leaving the past behind is pure murder. I brought Wild Nature Volume 1 to Kickstarter last year, and with the help of 136 backers, we brought the book into a beautiful hardback edition, had fantastic feedback from backers, from reviewers. You can see some of that on the Kickstarter page. And I want to go even bigger with Volume 2. The big thing for me is about building an audience, is having a relationship with you guys. And there's nowhere else to do that. Social media doesn't scratch that itch. It's not that same sense of connection and ownership. I only get that on Kickstarter, and I loved that in the last campaign. It was, like most people in 2020, it was a really hard time, and that Kickstarter gave me a real boost towards the end of the year, let me know that I hadn't gone crazy with making this strange story in bright neon colors with animal masks, and that people wanted to read it, and all the feedback that followed since has reinforced that to me. I'm really proud of what I've done in this book. think it's the best art I've done. I think it's the best writing I've done. And now I want to get into your hands. And I want to see what you think. And I want to see how far we can go with it. And all you need to do to make that happen is offer your pledge. And let's keep Wild Nature going and get the whole story complete. Thanks a lot.
Okay, let's go ahead and browse rewards. This is the cover for issue number 2, apparently. Hold on, got a message. Okay. Feel free to talk to me in the chat, guys. That was Mike, and he was Mike Tenor, and he was saying all the folks watched and that they appreciate the reviews, and you're welcome for the reviews always, guys. That's fine. That's part of what I'm here for. As a here comes the little monster, fur monster. Is to try and give feedback and hopefully, help you guys improve on your crafts as well. But all you guys do a really nice job. I'm really impressed with your line, and be happy to talk to you guys and have you guys on as guests down the road as well. Let's go ahead and get back to this from David Taylor. Okay, let's see. Like I said, this is issue 2, apparently. $17 gets you the volume 2 in print. $20 gets you volume 1 and 2 in digital. I want to see what it costs. Okay, about $31 for volume 1 and 2 in print. Well, let's see how many pages if he tells you. Because like I said, they create a death sport of mass killers who wear animal masks. Okay, whatever. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. I mean, it's certainly workable. It has an 80s feel to it, which is kind of interesting because it has a feel of the 80s, because it reminds me of that, the kind of stuff I used to read in the independent scene back then. And I think that's why it grabs my attention, because I miss that kind of stuff. But here's stretch goals. Book commentary. He's going to have a risograph print. Okay. Awesome. Okay, these are 88 pages and 80 pages. So $31 for 160 pages, 2 books. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm going to have to, if I haven't already, I got this bookmark, so I will definitely have to come back and check this out. There's 13 days to go, so there's time to think about it. Let's see. You can get print and digital bundles of his complete back catalog, which is the Her series, Decades, and The Grave. So you can get all that stuff as well in his pledges. So that's interesting. That would be the $76 for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books for $76. It's like $11 a book. That's really not bad, especially if all the books are in the 80 to 90 page count. That's a good deal. Limited to 10 total backers. There's only got 8 left, so that might be something to pay attention to. you can get your own likeness drawn into the book. That's interesting. There's two slots left there. So quite a few things he's offering. If you like 2000 AD American flag, Running Man, yeah, I kind of get the idea. What gets me, though, is he's from the UK and he's writing stuff about Miami, Florida. I'm surprised he didn't write something more in the UK, but pretty good stuff here, though. That's a possibility. And you're welcome, Michael. Okay, and lastly, for our reviews tonight, I'm going to go to one of the old guard creators, I guess you could say, popular 80s, early 90s writer, Mike Barron. He's doing a book called The Thin Blue Line through Indiegogo. We're going to go ahead and pull that down. There we go. This is funding. It's got 27 days left. It just launched. They got 92 backers. They're at 82% of their $8,000 fixed goal. Chris Braley is the publisher. Mike is writing it or scripting it, and it's penciled by an actual police officer. Let me see if I can find the guy's name real quick before we go. Here, it's creative team. Where'd it go? I hate when they do that. There we go. We already know that Mike's the writer, and we know his credits, by and large. There's Mike. Joseph Arnold, there we go, is the pencils and layouts artist. And Jeff Sleemans is the finishes and inks. And Jeff is an amazing inker. He's doing a really nice job on Joe's work. Coloring is by Ikshan Ansori and letterer Warren Montgomery. Hey, Warren, good to see you as always. I know you're out there. He's a regular watcher of the show, who is also an accomplished comic artist himself. We'll do the lettering. And here's some of this artwork. And it's basically about two police officers in Illinois who are trying to protect the mayor from, well, the same kind of people that just attacked the White House a few months back. So that's pretty much what this is. And it's about their two officers trying to survive and also, protect the community that they serve. Both the artist Arnold and he's a Arizona police officer, and Mike actually flew out from where he lives to Arizona to actually ride with him in Arizona and go through the whole procedure of what these guys go through. So it's very realistic and very thoughtful to what actually is going on. Now, I know that Mike actually was on Aaron Lopresti's show last night to talk about this. So if you go over to Aaron Lopresti's channel on YouTube, you can get a little more detail into that than I can offer. But what I can say is that it appears that he seemingly has pitched this book to a lot of different publishers before it was picked up and now is being crowdfunded. And I kind of wonder if this story was being written and drawn by a black writer and a black artist would have not have been picked up versus old white dude that has been around the business for 40 years plus. Because remember, Mike Barron's been around comics professionally since '82. And Joe Arnold's a white guy. So I kind of wonder if there's a kind of a block there a little bit. Now, some people might say this is a Comicsgate book. Understand that I don't judge Comicsgate as Comicsgate. I judge them on individual books, individual behaviors of individual members. There's a lot of members in that group who think they're hot spit, that they can do no wrong, and that everybody else just who's tearing them down is doing so because of jealousy or whatever, and they think that they're better than the people that are working and who replaced them at Marvel and DC, which really has nothing to do with their politics or anything other than they had 20 to 30 years in the business and they got replaced because the editors and management shifted over and the new management didn't like them and wanted to get somebody new that they could control more. That's about what the gist of it is. And they don't want to admit that. They just want to say, it's about politics, it's about agendas, it's about this, it's about that, instead of what it's really about. And so I called them out. And when people were asking me if I was going to talk about Comicsgate at length, when I get to that down the road, I'll go more detail into that and break it down as to who I support and why I do and don't support certain people. Okay? Mike is one of those guys, full disclosure, Mike and I have had a passing relationship over the years. I've done some testings for projects of his over the years. Never actually officially worked with him in the end, but he's always been very straightforward and honest, and I haven't had a problem with him personally. Sometimes I do think that he might get a little bit over the top, but part of that is his generation and what he grew up believing, and what he thinks is going on with America as well. And I'm not saying he's wrong about that, but sometimes he gets a little bit tightly wound about it. So, it is what it is. So there's that. Let's go back and take a look some more at this artwork. The color work is nice. Again, the police are trying to get the mayor out, more or less. And then there's a bunch of people doing other things. Now there's going to be some pinups. Sergio Cariello is going to do a pinup, and then there's a nice cover by Butch Geist. This is the cover by Butch that you're seeing right now. I think this is going to be actually the main cover. It's not the variant. Yeah, okay. So that should be pretty decent. And then this is the variant of the cover by Sergio Cariello, which would get unlocked at $25K funding. Otherwise, it's just be a pinup in the back of the book. I'm pretty much sure. Things about the funding, the police, and Blue Lives Don't Matter and stuff like that. Again, this is not because some people are going to say, people. Oops, there we go. Are anti-black or this or the other. No. There is police brutality, and there is also a situational thing of what it is to be a police officer and what the day-to-day life is. And when you get in these circumstances where you have a mob mentality that's looking to cause conflict in the community, what they have to try and do to not just protect themselves, but protect the community around them. And so he's giving that latter side. It's not about race per se. And I don't think there's necessarily going to be any racial representation or misrepresentation, I should say, in the book. I think a lot of people in this industry think that because he's writing about the blue line, shall we speak, that this book is going to be anti-minority. I don't think it will be. But, chances are I will get this book and I'll review it. And if there is an issue with it, and I do think, if I see something that's an issue, believe me, I will bring it up. So, we'll see what happens down the road with this. Alrighty then. That's pretty much our show for tonight. I want to thank you for watching. In the meantime, thanks to Mike Tender and all the folks over at Bad Bug Media who are watching the show. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I wish you'd said a little bit more to me in the chat, but maybe next time. In the meantime, I got to find the rest of this week's programming. There we go. Oh, didn't share the right screen. Pardon me. Let me get the right. There we go. All right. Tomorrow, we will have Evermore Falls by Carl Slominski. And at 8 p.m., we'll have an interview with Grant Lankard. We'll be talking about his Kickstarter campaign for Memoirs of the Morbid. And here is the book, Evermore Falls by Carl Slominski, that I'll be reviewing tomorrow for Booktober. Nice, thick, fun book to read. Wednesday, we will do Booktober Day 27. We'll be reviewing the hardcover edition of Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith from Fantagraphics. Thursday, we will do our Booktober Day 28, Windhaven by George R.R. Martin, Lisa Tuttle, and Elsa Charitier, as well as What Did You Get This Week? And that will also include reviews for the books I didn't get around to reading, which will be This Land 1-3 from Aloha Comics and Heroines 1-3 by Ted Nafe from I think it's Space Goat Comics or Scapegoat Comics. Space Goat, I think. But anyway, we're reviewing those 6 plus whatever else I get this week from the comic book shop and or Kickstarter or whatever in the mail. So that'll be on Thursday evening or afternoon. Friday will be Booktober Day 29. That's Nevermore by Harold Schechter, which is a prose fiction book about, think of Edgar Allan Poe as Sherlock Holmes. And here's that book. Think of Edgar Allan Poe as Sherlock Holmes paired up with, of all people, Davy Crockett as his Watson. So it's a really cool book. Quite the interesting piece. And then on the 30th, we will also have day 30 of Booktober, which, pardon me, that's Retrograde by Peter Codron. And we'll have Saturday movie night, which will be Classic Horror Movies Part 2. I have not figured out which movies I'm going to do exactly just yet, but here is Peter Codron's Retrograde, and that is science fiction fun to be had. And then Sunday, we'll have Graveyard Wars by A.J. Lieberman and Andrew Sebastian Kwan, which I don't have right handy to show you guys. I apologize for that. We'll also have Sunday Live Draw and Sunday Movie Night, which will close out the month with Classic Horror Movies Part 3. So that will be the show for the rest of the week. Okay, then. That being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate it, or you think others might enjoy the show, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. If you want to reach out to me, I'm on social media at Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. You can see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brightraven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, you want to commission artwork from me, so on, Quoth the Raven LBR72@gmail.com is the address to check out. And if I don't get back to you within a day or so, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. Once again, thanks for watching. We will see you tomorrow morning when we review Evermore Falls. I want to say Everfour Malls, but it's Evermore Falls. And that'll be either tomorrow morning 11 or maybe in early afternoon. So until then, have a good evening. We'll catch you next time.